All right, Khalil.
Yeah.
Everyone's looking
How do you
at you.
follow that, Khalil? Come on, man.
You know, being new here, you know, I see that. I lived in a lot of different regions and places in the country. And so coming here, trying to really access, I had a good friend of mine who I met. First thing he told me, he said, just to remind you that Nashville is white people's Atlanta. And, and I was like, you know what?
So good. It's so good.
I'm
That is so
starting to
true.
see that actually be true. And like one thing there's important to remember, I think with every city, there's a large international community here.
Right.
That's one thing I've had the pleasure of doing is going out and meeting people from so many different communities. I think it's the largest Kurdish community outside of Kurdistan who lives here in Nashville,
Really?
Tennessee. You know? And people tend to forget about that because you don't go down Nolensville Pike. You're not told to go there. You're told to come here to the West End. You're told to go to Broadway and maybe Germantown. But recognizing the history and you know, coming here, I didn't want to make it my job to say Nashville this is what I think you need to do. I just got here. There's no way I have the right to. I need to learn. So I decided to set out and learn. I went down to Fort Negley as they were kind of excavating and they found the original Bass Street community, which is kind of like one of the first emancipated communities in the country, I can imagine, because Nashville was one of the first cities to fall in the Civil War. Well, in doing some research about that, I found talking to Betsy Phillips, who writes for The Scene, she was telling me about in the 60s when the Civil Rights Movement were doing their training. They secretly trained here. John Lewis, Dr. King, they trained here in secret. At the same time, members of the Ku Klux Klan were training in secret to use dynamite and to blow up churches. That's all happening at the same time. You don't hear that about Nashville. Nashvillians don't know it. Tennesseans don't know it, and Americans don't know it. The pivotal impact that things that have occurred here in this city, how they have transferred over to American history in the course of where we're at. And in looking at it as an outsider, I'm like, oh, Nashville, like you said, is looking to be highbrow. We're not like Shreveport. We're not like Birmingham. In many ways, they don't want to even be like Atlanta. So Nashville had the narrative, we desegregated, but we desegregated the correct way.
The nice way.
The
Yeah,
nice
there were. I
way.
mean, there were articles that were like comparing. I'm sorry to cut you off.
No.
Nashville to Birmingham. They've got their bombs. Like, yo,
Yeah.
they were bombing people in Nashville,
Alexander
like
Luby's house.
100%.
Yeah.
Like a whole school got bombed because they were that adamant about letting black kids go to school with white kids. We got all these private schools here because they ain't want black kids going to school with white kids. Like all that stuff happened here, just like everywhere else. And so to the point of like doing this PR work, this massive campaign to present Nashville as this thing, like this is like pre the rise of the country music industry. Like Nashville sound is taking off. They have already concocted this idea of what Nashville is in terms of respectability, in terms of keeping black people in their place, and this idea that we are going to go about desegregation in a way that everybody's happy. Nobody's going to say the hard things. We won't let this thing be printed in the media. Yeah.
There's so much more to explore, and we want you to join us on The Good Road.
For more in-depth content, meet us on the internet at thegoodroad.tv.
Hear more great stories, connect to organizations, and make sure you download our podcast, Philanthropology.